Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be working on multi-step equations and you will be able to work on 2.3. Today students will be able to set up two-step equations from a scenario and solve two-step equations. So before we do that, let me just talk about two properties, and it's in reference to the inverse operations. Remember that addition cancels with subtraction, multiplication cancels with division, and vice versa. So this comes or is similar to the inverse addition property. It says when we add opposites, the answer is equal to 0. So if we add a -8 and a +8, the answer is 0. If we have +2 and -2, the answer is 0. Okay, you have $2, you owe $2, that means you end up with $0. So that's similar as if we're adding, then we subtract, and we get we cancel. That's how we work in equations. The inverse property of multiplication says that when we multiply reciprocal numbers, the answer is 1. And reciprocal is when you switch the numerator and denominator. And the reason is because if you put it over 1, you have 5 times 1 is 5, 1 times 5 is 5, and 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. Okay, so that's why the answer. So in here we have 2/3. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. We switch them, the numerator and denominator. And so 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 divided by 6 gives me 1. So this property refers when we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide, kind of. Or you can just multiply by the reciprocal, okay? And you get 1x. Okay, that's what it refers to. Or you can just remember, addition cancels with subtraction, multiplication cancels with division. Okay, so let's start with the first one. It says, there are 6 backpacks with books on the table. Next to those backpacks are 9 books. In total, there are 27 books. So 6 backpacks with books. We don't know how many books are in each backpack. Next to those backpacks are 9 books. Total of 27 books. So 6 backpacks with books is 6x. Plus 9 that are next to the backpacks. And the total is 27. So this is the total number of books. This is the 9 books on the table. Number of books on the table. This 6 represents the number of backpacks. And the X represents number of books in each backpack. Okay, so that's the information. Now we're going to solve. Remember that when we have multiplication and addition, we cancel the addition first. Whatever is next to the x, that's the last thing we do. So if we're adding 9, the opposite is to subtract 9. We get 6x is equals to 18. Finally, we're taking away the books on the table. So now these represent the ones that are on the backpack. If we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide. And so x is equals to 3. That means that there are 3 books in each backpack. Okay. Also, we're going to check the answer. And remember that the answer is to check if this is the right answer for this expression. But if you set up the expression incorrectly, then that means that you are not necessarily always correct. So this needs to be correct in order for everything else to be correct. So 6x plus 9 is equals to 27. I replace the value of books in each backpack. Number of books in each backpack is 3, so we already know. So we're multiplying the 6 backpacks times the 3 books that are in each backpack plus the 9 next to the backpacks. And is it equal to 27? We use PEMDAS on this side, and this you just keep bringing it down. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 9, because in PEMDAS multiplication comes before addition. Is it equal to 27? 18 plus 9 is 27, so we say yes, it is the same, so we say check. So that's how you do the checkup test. This is called a checkup test. Okay? Replace or substitute the x of the original. You substitute with the value that you found, and then start simplifying each side. If there is nothing to simplify, you just bring it down. And at the end, you should have the same numbers, and that means that this is correct. Doesn't necessarily mean, if you don't set up this correctly, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right answer. So be careful. Okay. The next one says, Rita has a box of toys. She distributes the toys among herself and 4 brothers. One of the brothers, Ted, lost 11 of these toys. Now Ted has 29 toys. How many toys were in the box? Okay, Rita has a box of toys. We don't know how many toys, so that's going to be represented with X. She distributes the toys among herself and 4 brothers. So together, this is 5 people, and distribute means divide. One of the brothers, Ted, lost means like you can find them, is minus 11. So Ted lost 11 of those toys. Now Ted has 29 toys. So let's see here. It gets a little confusing once you're only talking about one brother, and I'm going to show you why. But it says Rita has a box of toys, distributes among 5 people. When you do this, you have the number of toys, right? And let's say you know the number, you divide it among them. That, by dividing that, you automatically get the answer of what one person will get. Okay, so this represents what Rita got. This together, this alone represents what Ted got. This alone represents what the other brother and the other brother. So each one, by putting X divided by 5, you get the answer for the number of toys each person gets. So that's what it means in here. So this is what Ted got. This is also what Rita got. And so we're just going to use it for the representation of what Ted got. After Ted got his toys, he lost 11, so minus 11. And now he has only 29 because he lost 11 of those. Okay, so let's do the representation. This represents the toys in the box. This represents Rita plus the 4 brothers. This represents the toys Ted lost, and this represents toys Ted has left. Okay, so again, very important to understand that this right here Basically, after Rita got the toys divided by 5, this you will get the value of what Ted got. Okay? So let's say that if there are, and it's not, if there are 20 toys divided by 5 people, each person gets 4. If there are 100 divided by 5, there are 20 toys. So by dividing that, you get the number of what one person gets, or each person gets. Okay? And then he lost 11, then he get. So now, inverse operations. We don't do the division first, we do the subtraction. So we're going to, if we're subtracting 11, we add 11 to both sides. This cancels, and you get x divided by 5 equals 40. Okay, so when Rita divided the toys, each person got, so the toys divided by the 5 people, each person got 40 toys. Let's see how many were there in the box at the beginning. If we're dividing, the opposite is to multiply by 5. So let's undo the division. And so that means that in the box, there were 200 toys to begin with. So there were 200 toys in the box. And that was at the beginning. Okay, so now let's do the check. X divided by 5 minus 11 is equals to 29. Let's see if it makes sense. We're going to replace the 200 in X. So we have 200 toys in the box divided by 5 people. And then Ted lost 11. Is it equal to 29? The 200 divided by the 5 people, each person got, 200 divided by 5 is 40, minus 11, is it equal to 29? 40 minus 11 is 29, so yes, we say that that is right, so we say check. So yes, there were 200 toys in the box to begin with. Remember that you can always go back, so you can pause the video, you can rewind. Okay, the last exercise is you have a backpack with 10 pencils in it. You give away some pencils. Now you have 3 pencils left. How many pencils did you give away? This is a little trickier. So you have a backpack with 10 pencils. Do we have many backpacks? Yes, one backpack with 10 pencils. So automatically we know that we don't put an X for backpack because we know how many pencils are in the backpack. If he said we have a backpack with some pencils, then we put 1X and we even omit the 1. But in he says one backpack with 10 pencils, so we know that there are 10 pencils. You give away some pencils. Give away some pencils. We don't know how many, so we're going to subtract some of those. Now you have 3 pencils left. So after you do that, you have a total of 3 pencils left. So to begin with, we have a negative variable. We cannot have negative variables, but let's start getting rid of the other information to know the value of X. So this is 10 pencils, which is positive. It's like adding the 10 pencils in there, so we're going to subtract the 10. That cancels because 10 minus 10 is 0. It's just like the inverse property of addition. We bring down the negative X. Careful, some people get rid of this negative. Just because they have the X, they just put X. No, that negative belongs to the X, and so you need to bring it down. Positive 3, negative 10, that's negative 7. Remember, we subtract 10 minus 3 is 7 and keep the sign of the greater 1. We cannot leave a variable as a negative variable. This is like having a negative 1 times X. So if we're multiplying by negative 1, the opposite is to divide by negative 1. And so x is equals to negative divided by negative is positive. 7 divided by 1 is 7. And so you gave away, because this x represents the number of pencils you gave away. So you gave away 7 pencils. You gave away 7 pencils. For the checkup, you are going to get this original one. So it's 10 minus x is equals to 3. We replace the value of x right there, only right here. The rest stays the same, including the negative. You keep it the same. So it's 10 minus the value of x is 7 is it equal to 3? 10 minus 7 is 3. So yes, it is equal to 3. So we say check. With that, you're now able to work on 2.3 and have fun.